Hey y'all, my name is Rashida Convey Miller. I am the founder and CEO of the Messy Movement Lab, author of the new book, A Return to Pleasure. I am the sensual movement expert and consultant for Lizzo's Watch Out for the Big Girls. I am super excited to be here with you all today and to share more about my experience in moving through our 21-day self-care devotion plan. So if you haven't done so, make sure you go ahead and grab that devotion plan. It is truly something that we took our time with in this past month to create, and it was really beautiful to be able to see you all receive this in a way that was gentle and impactful and meaningful, and just to see y'all dancing and moving and to know that you're staying connected to the practice that just really lights my heart up. And so thank you all. Thank you for believing in this work and for exploring with us and being willing to move with us. And thank you to the 38, is it 38? New members who joined us in the Messy Movement Lab this week from all over the world. We've had some really beautiful intro classes, and we've got some great classes coming up. So I want y'all to come on over and join us. So I think that, I'm just going to go through a couple bullet points, and I'm not going to keep y'all too long, but this is probably my third time doing the challenge this year, and I keep saying challenge. I'm just trying to shift my own language around that. But from challenge to devotion practice, it's something that I have been looking at and committing to and creating intention around. And it's definitely a practice that I want you all to have, just regardless of whether or not you're in a class already or you're able to take, some of our coaching programs at this time. There's always space for you to start your own self-practice at home and use these practice tools to be able to get you there. So this is my third time around walking through the 21-day plan, and I have to say that every time around I feel something new in my body. I feel stronger. I have a much deeper sense of awareness of where my body's living in that moment and how I want to be able to take care of myself in order to, continue to grow in my healing journey and my experience around my sexuality. So I want you all to think about this idea of like, you're not trying to do the devotion plan just to be able to see if you can get through it and try to get through all the days. I want to just debunk that right now. That is not the purpose of this. The purpose is really for you to be able to get some data and to track your mood, your body, the experiences that you've had, and to have a steady place for reflection that allows you to see how are you actually growing in your experience around your sexuality. How are you growing in your experience around reconnecting to your body? There's just all of this data that we aren't necessarily able to hold on to from moment to moment. So when we do this type of planning, we can see, okay, where you're at your strongest, where you need the most support, what things are happening throughout the month that are impacting the way in which you're able to show up and care for yourself. So this go round in my self-care devotion practice, I felt, like I said, I felt really, really good. Started off that first day doing our first messy movement practice to cozy. And I don't know, there's just something about that practice and really digging into that like 10-15 minute range. And I had to build up to it because I let myself do one 5 minute practice, and then I kind of built like I do, 2 rounds of the song instead of just one, and then slowly building up from there. And there was just something about like the words repeating, themselves on that loop, and just, I'm cozy in my skin, I'm comfortable right here, like, and just that reaffirmation. And as we were taking our hands up the body and, just allowing ourselves to have that opportunity of connection and in self-intimacy, it felt really, there was just something very healing and restorative about that place. And so that felt really good. And I felt like I was super, super strong. I was able to come in at a 5 to 7 minute practice and eventually build up to 10. Let me see. I think actually the first day I did the practice twice. I did it by myself, and then Miller and I, we did the practice together. And then the next couple days we did the practices together, the entire time. And I found myself like just trusting myself when I needed a break, or like, trying to just make my body more comfortable if it meant I needed shoes or to grab my yoga mat. Even if I was literally like dropping in the hallway, like I felt much more comfortable to be able to just go right to the thing I needed to give myself some support. And then I noticed that after day 8, so we shifted our practice to the Boys from Lizzo, the DJ Odd, I think I'm saying that correct, remix. And that practice was so high energy, and like, yo, it took I had to share a clip of the video, but it took the wind out of me. And I mean, but I still felt really good. It's a great practice, but it's super high energy. So literally, if you can only do one of those moves for the entirety of the song, trust it and just let your body build into that naturally. But after we did that practice for 2 days, and then after that, my body was like, all right, I need a break. So I literally went the first 7 days of the practice straight, no stops. And I realized, I'm like, okay, well, while this is great, if I'm thinking about creating a daily practice, or if I'm thinking about creating a daily plan to be able to get into my body and to have that point of reconnection, if I don't give myself breaks in between the practices, or if I try to go too high energy, it's going to, change the way in which my body's going to experience it. So this may not be the case for everyone, right? I'm someone who's disabled. I'm working around high levels of chronic pain, managing, very experiences happening concurrently in my body. And so trying to manage those pain levels is, real major key to being able to have an experience that feels grounded, that feels regenerative, as opposed to just painful, and just pushing through. And as a dancer, that's something that I've definitely had to train myself out of. In our professional spaces and in our education spaces, we're not always given the language and the autonomy to choose our body's comfort or safety over the perfection of the work, over the discipline around the work, and any type of deviation from the discipline, or what is perceived to be as discipline, then starts to become a mark against the way in which you're perceived as being professional or ready or capable of withstanding, the role or the dance or whatever. And so, that type of restriction and punishment around movement can really start to impact, one, the way that we even want to go into those spaces to begin with. And I noticed that I had that really harsh disconnect between like traditional exercise movement, especially after moving away from some of the heavier intensive dance spaces in my adult years, my early adult years. I just noticed that there was a big difference there. So as I think about what does it look like to create a restorative practice like in my body right now, and not feel like the only way to have a beautiful or effective experience with my movement practice is if no pain, no gain. And while that, may work for some people, that model doesn't really motivate a lot of people who really need movement as a place of relief, and who need movement as a place of of healing. And when pain and punishment and punitive behavior is attached to the movement spaces, it's really hard to move around some of the psychosomatic experiences that are happening that make us want to run from movement, or that make us want to stay or dwell in the place of disconnection or discomfort or disembodiment. So after that first 7 day stretch, days 8 through 12, I was down for the count. So I was doing more walks, really trying to be gentle on my body, taking up, really generous naps. And, some days it was a little bit difficult to kind of, not be in the movement practice. Working around pain and injury can be really challenging on your psyche. And so you just have to, give yourself an opportunity to, one, see how far you've come, to see what your body's been able to do, and also to use the data that you have as information on how to shift or do things differently in the days to come. So on day 13, we were in our virtual drop-in studio for the Messy Movement Lab, and literally, I was able to do a 60-minute class. Like after a couple days of rest, my body was feeling really good again. It had that, I didn't feel like any tightness or soreness. And I felt 10 times stronger than I did from the last practice. Even my breathing was different. My endurance had just changed quite a bit. So that felt really good to come back and to be able to take that 60-minute class and have that space. And then I did take a break after that, because again, if I was doing, smaller practices like in 5 to 10 minute increments, and then to go, stacking that for a couple days, and then to take a break, and then to go right into a 60-minute class, that's also, a capacity management thing, working with your body to understand exactly where it's at and what it needs in order to have, again, a really grounded and rich experience that doesn't start to feel punitive to the body. So ultimately, I wanted to track this to show you all that even when you're doing the 21-day plan, it is not necessarily about being able to get to the full 21 days of movement, right? Maybe some months that is what happens, right? And then you can look at the surrounding things that are happening in your life and be able to understand, okay, well, maybe that happened because I had a little bit more capacity here because I wasn't taking the kids to school every morning, or so it allowed more capacity in that season. But that may shift, right? But if you don't have that data, you won't know, and you won't know how to make the right choices or the right decisions to be able to move forward in your care plan. So, with each of these rounds of the self-care practice, I want you to think about what intention you want to set for that practice, right? And how you're going to reward yourself, like how you're going to reward yourself for just moving through the practice, taking in the inspiration, taking in the opportunities to move, and just sitting with your own healing practice and journey over that 21 days, and just being able to have that type of intentionality with yourself. Like, how will you reward yourself for that? And so my reward is going to be spa time. So I'm looking forward to sharing that with you. Probably give you a few cute little shoulder pics, but I want y'all to really think about that. And if you're ready to start your personal practice, go ahead and download that 21-day care plan. It is everything, y'all, and you're gonna love it. It's literally out the gate something that can really shift the direction of where you're going for these last 90 days of 2022. Can y'all believe it? That's really insane. So come on over, join me in the lab. We've got, like I said, we've got our virtual drop-in studio happening right now, and we'd love to have you. I'm looking forward to seeing y'all on the dance floor soon. All right, y'all. Bye.